still funny to me because I remember like my first week, like it was yesterday, and like what the nerves and the struggle and like being a contractor for the first time. And so to go from like being such a scared business owner to like kind of being pretty comfortable doing what we're doing now, it's a unique change for me. So I'm super humbled and stoked beyond to help you guys out. And hopefully, even if you just pick up one small thing, I'll like to talk about, some adjustments that I made as I got moving. But yeah, Jermaine, to start kind of at the top, I've done a little bit of every different kind of job my whole life. I got my first full-time job when I was 12. I started working for another farmer, and not too far, it was only like 45 minutes out of town. And so I started working for him. That was my first full-time job. That was probably like 70, 75 hours a week that summer. So that was my first deal right out of the gate, working for somebody that wasn't my own family. So did a bunch of different physical labor jobs up until I got out of school. And then I was a waiter for a little bit right after college. And then I worked as a machinist for a little bit, tried that out. And then I got my first like corporate job where you have to wear like the suit and the tie every day to work at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And that was my first experience having like a legitimate adult job, I guess you could say. So I was there for a couple of years, and it's funny you're talking about the issue paid for this month. So my last full year at Enterprise, I grossed 59 grand and change. So that's almost matched my last year at Enterprise last month. And wow. So I remember that, like, I remember doing all my taxes and stuff. So I remember that number very specifically. So it's funny to look back and be able to take 12 months condensed into 30 days.
It's 30 days, man. Wow. That's powerful.
Yep. So did the Enterprise thing for a little while. And I actually found Family First Life in January of 2018. That's when I first saw the company. And I think all I saw was that it was $400,000 sales job, right? Like that's how it was, presented. And I was like, wow, you're telling me you can do sales, which I was kind of in some kind of sales. So you can do sales and do 400 grand in a year. It just didn't seem real to me, I guess, that my brain couldn't understand that you could just have a basic sales entry-level position at 400 grand a year. And come to find out that it's really not a matter of being special or having a skill set. It's just putting in some volume and going to work. So when I kind of eventually did come on board, a huge thing that I looked at when I started was when Zach was pretty new to the industry. It was his first year. And they said he did 406,000 his first year with no experience. And then he was like going to be a dentist or something. And I was like, dude, if I was going to be a dentist and he can do it, like I can for sure do it if it's just a matter of putting in the work, So that's kind of what got me super excited to get started. And I started in April of 2019 was my first full month.
First full month. Okay. April 2019. Awesome. And I know, you started out the gate, you were hitting, 50, 60 grand a month out the gate, right? I mean, that's just who you are, correct?
Yeah, super close. No, my first full month, I did 10 grand, right? That was my first month, but I was running, with the exception of maybe my first week, I had plugged into like between 36 and 44 appointments pretty much by week 2 and 3. So I had been running 36 to 44 appointments, and I did that for about my first 10 straight weeks before something kind of like woke up in my brain, and I actually could apply some of the training that I was listening to and make some adjustments in the home, make some adjustments to my phone tie downs and seeing more people instead of just booking a bunch of appointments and driving around all day. There was a ton of stuff I had to work on over time, but I did 10 grand my first month, 11,000 my second month, and then like 35,000 my third month. And that once it kind of clicked from there, I haven't really looked back a whole lot since then. I think maybe my fourth month, I dipped back into the high 20s. And then from there, I don't know that I've been under 30,000 since that second month. And I definitely haven't been under 40,000 this year. So that was kind of like nope. I've been over 40 every month since January. And I know my best month, I think, was in April. It was right around 93 grand or so. And that was kind of like my big boost month.
Got you. Wow. That's crazy. So I'm assuming that you have the special leads that they keep behind the red curtain at corporate, right? Is that what this is?
Yeah, they're those ones you can get out of the CRM or through the Facebook lead vendors or through the direct mail vendors. Yeah, it'd be one of those secret ones with a name and phone number on it, I guess. Um, but that is hilarious that you asked me that, Jermaine. And I don't want to pretend like I didn't have that train of thought. You know, I had to definitely do some brain and mindset training a bunch because I
Yeah,
assumed that if Grayson was brand new and writing 20,000 his first 2 weeks, then he had to be getting them from somewhere that I wasn't, because I wasn't writing 20,000 in 2 months. So
yeah,
I knew that someone had the secret sauce. And so it was hilarious and, you know, kind of like eye opening when I start talking to top producer after top producer after top producer, and they're literally using all the same stuff that I'm using, but their training schedule and maybe their day-to-day schedule looked a little bit different than mine. So that's where I started making some adjustments.
okay, got you. And let's talk about that first of all too, because you've said that a couple of times now about adjusting. So one of the things I always say in this business is you have to be very self-aware. You know, in some businesses, you know, some lines of some fields, career fields, they say, hey, you got to have your head on a swivel. Like if you're in football, you know, I played defensive end in high school, and it's like you got to have your head on a swivel. In this business, you have to be self-aware, or you're not gonna win. And so it sounds like you were very self-aware, and you were able to realize some of the things that you were missing. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? How do you come to that realization, and then what did you do about it?
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things that maybe I did correctly when I was starting out is I was reaching out for help, specifically to my like direct upline or my direct VP, or one of the top producers in our group, right, in the coastal team. So I
Yeah,
had, you know, a handful of top people that I was always trying to get help from, because I knew that if they were working the same leads, going to the same amount of appointments as me and tripling their result, like it had to just be a few words that I had to change, right? And that's one
yeah,
thing that Wetmore is an absolute machine at, Jermaine, is he is a machine at basically breaking down and asking specific questions to help you be self-aware and make those adjustments. And I think my biggest problem was I would listen to these training after training and I would reach out for help, but then I would go back and make the same exact mistake that I had already called and asked for help on, right? So eventually when I would call back and ask the same question, maybe for the third or fourth time, they would say, I mean, how many times are you going to keep doing this to yourself? You know, you need to start writing some stuff down. And it just kind of a light bulb went off in my brain. And Athena actually recommended to carry a run notebook with me. So I
yeah,
started writing down specific mistakes or questions that I was being asked in the home that I didn't know how to respond to. And then when I would call and ask for help, I could physically write a note down like, hey, when they say this objection, really that just comes back to how you structure the beginning of the appointment. Did you ask them about, or did you make them aware that, you know, your state license, these are state regulated companies that you're going to help them shop around? Well, I forgot to do that, but I will next time. And then I would call again and say, hey, they told me they wanted to shop around. And then it's like, we just covered this yesterday. What do you, did you not apply what we just trained on yesterday? You know, so it was a couple of those things where I just kept making the same mistake. You know, and that was something that as a, you know, as an upline, that's got to be crazy frustrating. So I just am so mad at myself. It took me so long to, you know, actually write down and then apply the changes that they were taking time out of their day to help me with. So that was
yeah,
huge. I would tell everybody to bring a notebook with you and write down specific things in the house that you're having a problem with or running into, so that you can call and get a specific answer for that exact scenario. Because now we've seen every objection or scenario or anything somebody says, I've already seen it 20, 30, 40 plus times, you know? So
yeah,
now I can say, hey, when they say that, that just means that maybe in the beginning of the appointment, you didn't set it up correctly. Like, did you ask them these questions? And that's
yeah.
something that I developed and got much better at, Jermaine, was specifically adjusting and changing stuff that I was saying in the home and what I was doing in the beginning of the home, as far as like what was going wrong when I got into the house. I guess if
It's
that's a good place to start.
yeah. I mean, that makes so much sense because it's funny, right? We're reading. I had this book right here. Give me 1 second. So this month, our book of the month as a team is this book right here, Compound Effect. And it talks about that in the multiple ways. And one of the ways it talks about that is, you know, tracking your spending, right? And the guy, Darren Hardy, he talks about, hey, if you're having issues with budgeting and spending and, you know, you don't know where your money's going, carry a little notebook and write down everything you spend. And then each week you can review it. And then you can identify what you need to adjust. You'll see that you're blowing, you know, 30 bucks a week on Starbucks when you could make your own coffee at home for $7 a week, because that's how much it costs for the full Keurig thing. So the fact that you brought that up ties in so directly with what this book is teaching about how to really get better and be more successful, because it really comes down to your habits, right? So your daily habits. For you, where you are now, what are some of those daily habits that if I was a new producer, I'm issuing 8,000, maybe 10,000 out the gate, and I want to get to the 30, 40 range, what are some of the things that you'd say, hey, you got to make these adjustments to be able to get to that point?
Awesome question, Jermaine. So, right, to kind of just start at the beginning, right? This formula is just a gigantic math, not even a gigantic, it's just a simple math equation, right? I mean, it's volume of leads equals volume of appointments equals volume of issue paid business, right? So it's a very simply put together business. And as far as like being able to set yourself up for success, but now the work in between A and B is massive, right? You're not, just because you buy 100 second chance leads, you set 15 appointments and you don't do anything to get better, week after week after week, it doesn't mean you're going to have success. You have to constantly be making adjustments. So the very beginning of my day, especially when you're brand new, this was the deal that I made, with my wife, fiance or whatever at the time. I just said, hey, listen, I don't really know what on earth I'm getting myself into, but I do know that it's going to require a lot of work to start. From everybody that I talk to, they work a lot, especially when you're a brand new agent. So I said, can you just give me like 90 days where I can just go absolutely nuts on this thing and just work for 90 consecutive days? And I tell you what, if I have not improved, I haven't made any money, and it's just, I hate what I'm doing, then we can talk about maybe exploring some other options. But you got to at least give yourself 3 months of legitimate work ethic and putting in some time and effort and training and investing in yourself, which that investing in yourself piece is huge, Jermaine, because if you don't purchase leads, it's funny, it's actually riskier to buy less leads or to buy a few older leads in the math equation part of things. Whereas if you buy 20 leads, it's $400, you have to make, one sale out of 20 to make your money back. Well, if you just double down and do $800 for 40 leads, then you have 2 out of 40 instead of 1 out of 20. And then you have 38 more chances to be profitable, right? And it may not even take that much. Maybe you write one big policy to cover the lead bill, and then everything else is profit. So it's riskier to have less chances, especially when you're new. And that is one thing that I probably did maybe a little bit over aggressive, is I didn't really reach out for help with a lead plan for myself. I just got 3 credit cards and I just maxed all of them out on leads until I couldn't buy anymore, and was just kind of hoping for the best. So I'm not saying that's what everybody should do, but I didn't have capital to start, probably like most people that start here. But I knew that if you put in the work, you did the training, and you reached out and asked for help, of course I was going to make my money back. There's people making $5,000 in a single home. Maybe I won't do that. Maybe I can do that in 3 or 4 homes, and that'll easily cover, a week or 2 of lead bills, and then everything else. Now you start putting stuff in your pocket. So I don't know if that was a little bit off topic, but it's super important to get with a manager and make a lead plan. So I was buying 120 brand new Facebook leads a week on credit, because I didn't really have any clue what I was up to. So as a business owner, massive mistake. But it also put unnecessary pressure on me to do the extra work in the meantime, like spending all day on Sunday door knocking and consolidating leads or setting appointments from my Sunday door knocks, as an example.
Makes sense. No, absolutely. I mean, what you're saying makes complete sense. And I love, you said volume of leads equal volume of appointments equal volume of issue paid business. And it's so simple. And a lot of agents get that confused. And I know you're building an agency as well. How are you able to communicate that just so everyone can understand? Is it something that you talk about, or you just kind of lead the way and show them how it's done?
I probably, Jermaine, I'm still kind of learning as far as like how to manage a life insurance agent. That you hear it all the time, where everybody that you hire is not going to be just like you, and that for me was like that beginning phase where I'm like, you guys say you really want it. This is what I did. And, it sucked for 10 weeks, but then it was good after. But you got to realize that 10 weeks of really heavy struggle, and the bills are piling up, and you're not doing as well as you thought you were going to do. that's a really stressful time. And this truly is not for everybody, right? Everybody can do it, but it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
So I'm still learning in that process big time. So kind of what I do to encourage agents, I just explain it kind of how we were talking about, where it's a math equation, where it's just a matter of giving yourself chances and putting in the right effort to have the results. I don't know if anybody, I mean, maybe I can think of one guy off the top of my head, but I don't know that I've ever seen somebody come out and just start smoking 30 to 40 grand a month on their first month, and their life is just cake. Like, they don't have any struggle. It's not hard for them. With the exception of people that have prior insurance experience, I should say.
Yeah.
So this is something that does take a very large time requirement when you're kind of brand spanking new and getting this thing moving.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you gotta come in expecting that. And I like the fact that you mentioned, communication as well with your then fiance, now wife, because that's important. We do have a lot of agents that may be married or in a serious relationship, and you got to be able to communicate. How important was that to you, and how beneficial was it to you to do that and allow you to accomplish what you've been able to accomplish?
Yeah, so I'm obviously super lucky in my situation where she is like wildly supportive. Even though she was just as scared as me, she did kind of give me free reign permission as long as I promised to put in the work. She was insanely supportive. It doesn't mean it's any easier when I'm gone and traveling all the time. Even now, I'm not home a lot, and when I do get home, it's usually 8, 9, 10 o'clock or whatever. So that's just something that you got to be super upfront with your significant other. But as long as you have a plan in place where, like, hey, this is what we're looking at for the next year, 2 years, 5 years, here's the plan, here's how we're going to execute it, and you have something kind of established as far as goals as a family, it sure makes that part a lot easier. And when she got a chance to kind of see me work harder than I've probably ever worked in my life, that kind of helped build a little faith of just saying, hey, just let me just rip on this thing, because these guys over here are doing 50 grand a month. And if we can do that, our lives will be changed forever. So
Yeah.
that was a conversation that we obviously had to have right out of the gate. That's been, and again, it doesn't make it any easier for her because she's the one that's at home when I'm always gone, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just obviously super fortunate where we had that conversation right out of the gate, and then she's kind of supported me through the whole deal. Especially now as we've progressed in a year and a half, she sees the bigger picture. It's like crystal clear for her, with all the integrity stuff in the works for everybody and everything.
Perfect, man. Yeah, absolutely. That's super important. I was the same way with my wife. When I got started, it's like, hey, this could be a great opportunity. We don't know, but we got to give it a shot, right? So it's like all in. You've mentioned one thing. So guys, just so you know, I'm going to be taking some questions for Easton. We're going to keep it nice and simple. So just put them in the chat, and I'll ask him the questions as they come up. But what I want to do, I want to be very targeted with our questions. So we want to target questions surrounding leads, phone, whether it's phone script or objections on the phone, in home, and obviously training, which is a big part of what we do. But while you guys are getting your questions together and dropping them in the chat, Easton, you've mentioned throughout, and I could just tell, and by the numbers you put up and just the way you talk, that work ethic and hard work is something that is important to you. Where does that drive come from? Because not everybody has that. Like, if we could hire everyone that has just a drive, that's a driven individual and hardworking, this whole thing would blow up tremendously. So what is it for you that creates that drive and that work ethic that you have right now?
And I appreciate you saying that, Jermaine. That's an enormous compliment. That's kind of probably one of the nicest things you can ever tell somebody. So it means a lot, especially because I know that you're a family man who works your butt off too. So, for me, it's all about big picture stuff, right? And, my pops basically growing up, I come from a really hardworking family. My dad's side of the family, they're cattle ranchers, so it's kind of like, you start as soon as you can walk working, and you kind of work until you pass away. That's kind of that's how ranching is, right? And, my dad got into a combine accident when he was young and lost one of his legs, so that changed his life. So he ended up doing the post office stuff and had a government type job, but he was always gone as an electronic tech, doing trainings and traveling all over the country, And so he was either working mornings or nights or traveling. And, he just wasn't around as much as he could have been because he had to provide for us while my mom stayed home and kind of took care of the kids. Right. So again, obviously super fortunate to have, both the folks work really hard, keep us afloat, and, never had to go hungry or anything like that. But I just didn't get to see my pops that much because he was always working.
Yeah.
And I know that's one of his kind of like big things is, I wish I could have done this at a younger age, gotten into business, built something, blah, 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 and so I just didn't want to be at my family to be at that risk, and so when I was talking to the wife about getting this thing going, I was like, this is kind of like our ticket out. You're talking 5 years where you just put it through the floor and your entire life could be changed in such a short window. You're just condensing this window right down to a 5-year plan. And some people are doing it sooner than that. I mean, Grady's three years into this or whatever. And he's definitely headed, about in the best direction you could be. So the fact that you give yourself 5 years and then all of a sudden you purchase that time back that you gave up for 5 years. And so that's it for me. I want to take care of my parents. There's a few things financial I'd love to do for some of my family that this opportunity could provide. You hear Andrew, Taylor and Wetmore talk about the stuff they've been able to do for their families and extended family. That's for me a huge, enormous reason on why I just want to, grind like a madman and then kind of take care of the people that took care of me and gave up their whole life to make sure that I had a good one. I would say that's probably my big why.
Big why, big driving factor. And then that's key, guys. You got to have that why. You got to have something that makes you want to pick up the phone and dial the next lead after the last person yelled at you saying, stop calling me, I didn't fill it out, when you have all their information, including their height and weight on the form. And it's like, what do you mean you didn't fill it out? So, and on that note, and I'm going to start branching into those 4 categories here. We got a couple questions coming in, and send your question in, guys. Anything that talks about leads, phone script, in-home training. We got about 10 more minutes here with Easton, but the emotional stability, obviously, with the number of appointments you run, you get more no's than most people, because if you're booking 35 appointments a week, you obviously have more people that tell you no than others. How are you able to handle that emotional side of it, handling the rejection of it that is very constant day in, day out? I mean, 6 days a week, you're facing rejection and you're looking for the silver lining, which is that person that says, yeah, come on over and here's a check for $1,000, basically. How do you handle that when that's not the case?
I would say that is the volume eliminates a lot of emotion, Jermaine. And that's it. And when I was new, I knew that I was going to miss a bunch of sales. I just didn't know that I was going to miss as many as I ended up missing. So
Can you
I was
be more
kind of
specific with how many you missed, just to give us some context?
Yeah, so I had a bunch of weeks where I would run like 43 and 44 appointments a week, and I would write like 800 AP, right? And so we're talking an absolutely jammed schedule, and I'm picking up one FX app for $800 an AP. I mean, you're not getting paid, and you're working a lot. And I saved a couple of screenshots. I went back and kind of looked through my beginning posts, and some of them are between 38 and 44 appointments, and it's 800, 1200, 2400, back to 1000, back to 750, up to 2000. I did that for 10 weeks where I was clearly not profitable with the amount I was investing. Yeah. And so again, before you start buying leads, get with your manager and use your brain significantly more than I did, because I was just a loose cannon. So that was really, really hard. And I couldn't tell anybody that I was so terrible, right? Because, the wife's counting on me. I promised her that I could figure it out, so I can't tell anybody that this is going horribly. But again, I did understand that it was my own fault, that I was making all these mistakes. And I just said, okay, these guys keep saying on all the trainings, if you just work the numbers, they'll work themselves out. They always do. And I felt like I was the exception to that rule my first 10 weeks. But week 10 hit, Jermaine. I wrote 15 grand in week 10, literally paid off all my credit card debt, went out the next weekend, probably did like 10 or 12. So all it takes is just a couple of strong weeks and consistent work, and it's going to accidentally blow up. You'll start accidentally picking up checks that you have no idea how you possibly did it. I would walk out of homes and be like, I really thought that I was blowing that appointment. I literally have no clue how I possibly helped them, right? But it was just they must have sensed, you know, confidence or caring or whatever it was. And they allowed me
Yeah.
to help them, even though I'm sure they could tell that I was a rookie. Um,
Yeah.
so the numbers will eliminate tons and tons of emotion. It doesn't eliminate all of it, because it's not fun to, especially when you're doing a good job and that why is there, and they just, for some reason, there's a disconnect. They won't allow you to help them. Those are the
Yeah.
hard ones. You know, those are the ones that I have a hard time with, because the need is so big that you just feel like you did a bad job somehow. You know, those ones are always going to be hard, you know, if you're in this for the right reasons and you care about people, which most people that are here, it's what it's truly about, is helping people and setting your family up at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely, man. I agree 100%. All right, we got a couple questions coming in. One of the first ones then I want to ask you about, and then guys, if you have more questions, drop them into the chat and we'll ask them as they pop up here. So a little bit on phone script, right? Going back to the magic leads, I'm assuming you have the magic phone script as well. Can you kind of give us a quick, you know, run through maybe 30 seconds of what your phone script is and anything that you think is important that you include that, you know, you would recommend be included?
Yep. And I'll kind of prep this with, like, my phone script, Jermaine, it's not for everybody. You know, I have a somewhat unique phone script to me. It's, some people tell me that it's really wordy and it's a little bit long. It's just what I kind of picked up a little bit from everybody and tried to combine it into how I thought would fit my personality. So, you know, mine is, hey, Bob, yep, Bob, this is Easton, you know, and it's senior benefit office, mortgage protection office, benefit office for the county. If it's a life lead, doesn't really matter where you're calling from, but it's always calling from the senior benefit office, just getting back to you about the request you had sent in to us for that state regulated final expense insurance. Bob, it looks like you had listed June 1st to 62 as your date of birth. Is that correct? And as soon as he starts to say yes, okay, perfect, Bob. And then are you working, retired, or disabled? I'm still working. Okay, great. Well, Bob, again, my name is Easton. I'm actually just the field underwriter assigned to you, you know, here in Yellowstone County. I'm the one that they send out to go over your eligibility and kind of figure out what you qualify for. As you read on there, it's non-medical, so there's no blood, physical, or urine. They just shoot me out real quick to verify ID and make sure you're not strapped into a bed full time. Should take like 10, 15 minutes. And I'll stand corrected. I jumped ahead a little bit earlier. I just confirm date of birth first, and then I'll kind of let them know what I'm calling about. And that's after I say that part, I'll get into the, are you working, retired, or disabled?
Makes sense.
So I did miss a piece there. So once I've established what I'm calling them back about, I've already explained that it's non-medical. So they send me out there because it's non-medical, and you don't do blood, physical, doctor, urine. Working, retired, or disabled. I'm retired. Got it. Bob, is this, you know, just for you, or you and a significant other? Or are you single, married, widowed, divorced? However you want to do that part. And once I get that answer, it doesn't matter if they're, you know, what their situation is. Okay, perfect. So they actually have me dispatched to you, Bob, tomorrow. I'm going to be seeing about 15 other families in the area. Let's say that they're retired. And I know I got a spot right around 6:45 in the morning, or between 8 and 8:15. Do you have a preference? You know, and that's what I do when I'm trying to set my 8 o'clock. I let them know that I can do 6:45. If I'll get a 6:45, dude, that's my home run. I'll take that all day. And you can kind of do that intentionally to coach people into your time slot. Hey, do you want to do 6:45 or 11:30? Okay, 11:30, that's actually easier for me. I'll be right around the corner from you. From once you have set the appointment, it's just a matter of a couple of small tie downs. You know, hey, is that you know, 101 Main Street? Is that number right on the house, or the curb right there? I can see it. Yep. Okay, great. Should I pull into the driveway or stay on the side of the house? What color is the house? Great. I'll be driving a little white car. I'm 6 feet tall. I got a big old nose on me. You can't miss me when I get there. You know, just some unique tie downs to me. But I always try to find something to like loosen it up and be memorable at the same time. So I always make fun of my schnauzer because it's huge. So that's my like little self-identifier that I use.
Yeah, that's nice. And I like that. Just, you know, and personalizing the tie down, I think is key too, because it'll get them to smile and it'll get them to remember you, right? And so that definitely locks them in. And on the same vein of kind of, phone script, one of the questions I had, I would assume just from my experience now doing this 3 years that you don't get a lot of objections because you're preventing them by the way you go through your phone script. But on the rare case that you do, what's one or two of the objections you get and then how you quickly, redirect them and get the appointment booked or not, because sometimes you can't always, kind of close them all on the phone from an appointment standpoint.
Probably the one that especially if you're working an old lead or, the life leads, people will fill out a couple of them at a time. And, so you'll get a lot of like, oh, I already actually got that done. Thanks. And they'll either, hang up or pause. Whatever they do from there, I'll either call them back or let them know, hey, if you got it done, that's perfect. I'm actually really glad you got it. It actually makes my job a lot easier. I'm wildly busy tomorrow. So I'll just schedule in for it's a 5-minute review. Just have your stuff out real quick. And then I'll just run through this with you. And if you're in a good spot, I can get you closed out on our end so we don't have to keep calling you, right? Because at that point, you're just trying to get in front of them to make sure that an agent didn't do a bad job in the house with them. And you know what, if it's an FFL agent which is a super rare occasion for me, I don't really run into that much, or it's a really good policy. Like every once in a while, I'll go into a house where they have a fully medically underwritten whole life that they picked up in their 20s or 30s, just stuff you don't see very often. So at that point in time, it's not a matter of let's fix this. Okay, got it. So when you send in the life insurance request, you obviously had this 200 grand a whole life in there. Were you just looking to, for like a little bit of a short term or, something for the grandkids? Talk to me about that a little bit. And you're always trying to problem solve, but initially on the phone, you're just trying to get in front of them to see if you can help them. A little bit of advice: if you book a quote unquote review appointment like that, set another appointment right on top of it. Because if you do walk in there and it is a home run policy and they're in a really good spot, or they picked it up 5 years ago and now they're sick, you don't want to mess with that, right? You can kind of figure out if you can help them or not, and then, do the right thing. So I always like to have a second appointment in my back pocket I can sneak over to just in case it is a rock solid policy.
That's good stuff, man. I love that idea. And I did that today as well. I was live dialing and there's one similar and I was like, yep, I'm a double look that one just in case. All right. So couple questions. Someone asked about leads. So to issue pay $59,000 in leads, kind of what does that lead budget look like on a monthly basis for you?
Awesome. I would say my lead budget may be a little bit higher than some other top producers. I don't know what the average in the company is. I think Nick said he did his little research project and it was like 6,500 to $7,000 or something like that. For me, I probably do it about 8 to 10 grand a month. But my lead bill and my lead plan is very intentional. So I have counties locked out in about 5 different states that I have direct mail mortgage locked out in because I'm hiring in those states to give the leads away. So what I do now is I have them locked out in a few different states in the country that I travel to once a month or twice a month, depending on the lead flow. And I'm running out there with the intentionality of hiring an agent to take the leads over that also wants to create something for them and theirs, right? So I don't mind having a little bit higher lead bill. And as you mentioned, when you go out and knock down 50, 60 grand, a $10,000 lead bill is really not a big deal as far as like being a net profitable business. Right now, Jermaine, I'm not worked up about trying to like have this enormous net volume into my wallet, right? The point of what I'm doing now for my run schedule and my IP is to put back into the business to build, because I want to be where the Mike and the John and the Andrew and the Paul, that's where I want to be, so I'm just pouring in every direction that I can. So I don't want to scare people by saying, hey, I spend 10,000 a week, but I do that by my choice because it's a very unique strategy for what I'm trying to do. So that was my decision.
Yeah, and I know, and it sounds like you're in that range because I know Wetmore normally talks about 20% of what you want to make is what you have to spend, and so 60 grand a month, if that's what you're trying to issue pay, 20% of that would be about 12,000 leads. You're actually 8 to 10, so you're below that. You're probably closer to about 15%, which is great. I mean, it is a business, right? And we got to treat it as such. The leads are the raw materials or the resources of our business. And that's how we make our money. So I think the key, and I'm sure you'd agree, is to make sure that you do have a budget. And then like you've mentioned on several occasions, put a lead strategy together with your manager to maximize that budget the best you can, and get the best
Yep.
return. So we got 2 more questions, Easton. Do you have time for 2 more?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
All right, guys, and I hope you're getting a lot from this. We'll run over a little bit because I had projected to wrapping up with Easton about 4 minutes ago, but definitely I'm getting some good stuff. I don't know about y'all, but I'm taking some good notes. So, Easton, we want to talk a little about in-home, and then we'll wrap up with a question on hiring, because we know you're doing that as well. So, with the in-home, obviously, when you get started, I'm sure like you struggled. Most of us struggle initially in the house until we kind of get our feet under us. But the question I got was kind of what's the structure, maybe the first 15 minutes of the in-home, because that's important to have that structure. And then what are some of the challenges that you faced initially and how you overcame them, so that way, you could prevent the I need to think about it, or, we change our mind, or whatever other excuse some agents might get in the house.
Okay, so I guess I probably want to give like a little final expense tidbit to start, because that's kind of where I started, was just running as much FX as I get my hands on. For me, those are the most straightforward appointments you can possibly have, because they're not confused on what could happen if they pass tomorrow, right? That's why they filled out the form, and that's why we're there. So when I'm in the final expense in home, there's a minute 32 minutes of just a very slight, gentle rapport. You're not over complimenting. Definitely don't want to be rude, but just find something that you can have in common with them, right? Whether that's something you saw outside or in the house. And then I'm moving straight into it. Like, well, obviously I got the request you'd sent in for the final expense insurance. You guys, I'm assuming you're just looking for something, small for like a burial or cremation type thing. And that answer gets got to always be yes. Like, that's what I'm there for. I said state regulated final expense insurance on the phone, so they shouldn't be confused that I'm there for insurance when I get there. So, hey, I got the request you sent in, so I'm assuming that you guys just need a little help with some kind of final expense insurance. Yes. Okay, great. Are you looking for something small, Jermaine, like 15, 20, 30 grand? And they almost always say yes. And that is also wildly intentional, because that's how I'm prepping for my top-down sell at the end of the appointment. And again, I've talked about this before, but you still want to be careful. Trying to think of a polite way to say it. Use your brain a little bit. You don't want to show them something that's they're never going to be able to afford, just because Easton said on the training to show them 30 grand to start every time. I mean, be a little bit conscious of who you're sitting with, income, all that stuff on the inventory sheet. But I always say that in every single house, whether they say it's a cremation or a burial, I don't care. I'm always saying something small, like 15, 20, or 30 grand, so that I can start from the top and work my way down until we find something that fits. If you just say, got it, you need a cremation, what's that cost, 3 or 4 grand? You're not helping anybody. That doesn't solve a problem for them that they ultimately need solved. You can certainly provide more value than showing them a $3,000 policy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I kickstart all my final expense appointments. And then the next 10 minutes, and what I did, because I have I don't know if you can tell when I speak, but I have a really hard time not just rushing through stuff and talking really fast. So I have to like remind myself to slow way down. My brain is always moving a million miles an hour, so I used to set a physical timer on my phone for 10 minutes, and I would not go past the why portion of my appointment until that timer went off on my phone. And that forced me to sit and get uncomfortable and ask hard questions about, hey, if you don't come back tomorrow, who's in charge of handling everything for you? And if they're in a house, now we have a house and final expenses, and what other bills or debts do you guys have? Walk me through that a little bit. If it's the daughter or the wife or whoever it is, all I'm trying to do is learn a little bit of information about that person. If it's the daughter, got it, your daughter's in charge. She's probably the most responsible of the kids. Okay, great. What does she do for work? Does she live around here? Does she have her own family? Could she come up with 10, 20, 30 grand overnight? Obviously not. That's why we're there. So all of that stuff is intentional questions, understanding that we have to paint this why picture for 10 minutes before I move on to Eagle for 10 grand is $65, because you're never going to help anybody if you're just like, oh, you want 10 grand? Okay, cool. What's your health? Oh, great. It's $65. Does that sound good? That you're not providing any value or getting to the bottom of the equation. So again, that first 10 minutes, Jermaine, you have to be intentional about asking questions. And the rest of it's just going through the suitability sheet. Once I have their why, it's just completing the sheet, making sure you don't make it too expensive for them. There's a million trainings on how to go through the suitability sheet that's probably quite a bit better than I can articulate it. So I would listen to like an Eric Schmidt type training. He is wildly thorough in his appointments. We don't do our in-home presentation even remotely the same, but I do pick up little things on his structure that I try to apply to every appointment I'm in. And it has to do with that 10 minutes of why part. So that's my final expense stuff. Do you have a couple of seconds for the mortgage stuff, Jermaine?
Yeah, please share. Absolutely. Because we got a few guys that run mortgage as well.
Okay. So the mortgage stuff, to me, the mortgage appointment is also pretty straightforward. I mean, they sent in the form because they want to make sure when they pass away that the house is good to go, right? And I'm pretty intentional when in that beginning part, figuring out income loss, and hey, what are you guys trying to set aside right now for an emergency situation? Like if he doesn't come home tomorrow, what are you guys rat holing on the side to make sure you have some kind of financial help? We're only able to put away like 100, 150 bucks. Okay, well, there's 150 in premium. Let's see where else you're throwing money away at. Talk to me about what you're paying extra on the house, right? How much are you putting? Are you trying to pay the house off a little bit early? If that's a yes, that's some more premium you can put on there. So now we have 150 in savings, and they're paying an extra 400 bucks a month into their home to try to just take a few years off, right? So now I'll set up. Okay, so now we have 550 bucks that they're basically putting aside every single month in and month out. So for me, I say, hey, you know what? Why don't we do this? Because we still want to allow you to save. And obviously the point of this, Jermaine, is not to overspend on insurance, right? So what we'll do is we'll probably just take like a little chunk of what you guys are already setting aside, and we'll leverage that for your mortgage protection to make sure that your wife is going to be set up okay, in the event that you do pass. So it's finding premium and then applying it so that it makes logical and financial sense to them, so that you don't find 550 bucks and start showing them a policy for 550 a month right away, because they'll feel it, right? Where you feel like you're trying to drain them of all their free money. You're trying to take it. So again, the small things like, hey, I know we're not trying to overspend here, Jermaine. So the point of this is to help you guys not hurt you. So let's leverage what you guys are already setting aside to make sure that if something does happen, you guys each have a little something, or, the breadwinner, when he goes, to make sure that she's good, or she goes that he's good. It's all insanely intentional about those questions in the beginning, figuring out what they're doing with their money, other debts and bills, etc. Just little tiny questions that is, to me, it's like, you can't let your eyes light up when they're like, we're putting an extra $1,000 a month into the mortgage. Okay, got it. That makes a ton of sense to me. You guys are probably going to pay this off in 20 years instead of 30. So why don't we just do this? Reallocate X amount into the insurance, and then you guys will still be able to put this away. And if it's a cash back plan, it's a home run. So it's a bunch of situational stuff. I hope that I didn't run through that too quickly, but there's a few things that I do specifically at the beginning of my mortgage appointments so that I can find premium and apply it to the insurance, where they don't feel like they're taking money out of their budget because they already have it there.
Yeah, that's deep. I mean, like, mic drop on that alone for the guys and gals that are doing mortgage protection, because sometimes it could come off. I mean, I'm sure you'd agree, Easton. One of the biggest concerns that most families have when you come to help them is like, all right, what's this additional bill going to be? And that's their thought process. So if you can approach it almost in a stealth and subtle way, like what you just said, it's like, hey, you're already putting this money to the side. What we're going to do is maximize this money to be able to protect you in case something should happen. I mean, if you guys didn't get that, I just restated it just so you can, and the recording is going to come out tomorrow on our YouTube page, man. I appreciate that. We're getting some fire emojis in the chat right now, because that stuff is just fire, Easton. Thank you very much. On the hiring side, real quick, before we wrap it up, and then you can add anything else that you want to add. I'm sorry, I skipped the part about objections. Now, the way you do your appointments, I would anticipate that you don't get a lot I need to think about it, because you're spending 10 minutes on why we need this and having them tell you why they need it, not you telling them why they do. Am I right in that assumption?
100%. And, it's not like it never happens to me now. I know when I get that at the end, I'm like, oh, I blew it. I already missed it. And then it's just, you're trying to save something that you already ruined in the beginning. And so then
Yeah.
now it becomes a battle, and I'll still fight for that family, Jermaine. Just because I mess it up in the beginning doesn't mean I'm going to give up. But when I get that, I didn't do something that I was supposed to do, because if they spend all this time walking me through what they're possibly going to do without the other person's income or the final expense bill or the house, they spend this time pouring their heart out to me and getting emotional, and then they tell me they got to think about it. That would be really weird and awkward. So when I do get that, it's because I'm rushing, so that's that whole, I got to keep this slowed down a little bit, because that thing is moving a million miles an hour all the time.
Yeah. No, makes sense. I agree with you 100%. Whenever I get that, I'm like, okay, you messed up, just walk away. I try a little bit to reroute and be like, you need to think about, okay, how much time you need? And then, okay, well, how about we do this? Let's see if we could get it approved. I try that, but if they're still adamant, I'm like, yep, whatever you blew, you'll think about it in the car and you won't do it next time.
Yeah.
But it pays to slow down to be able to protect that family. So let's real quick maybe take a minute and then wrap up with anything on the hiring side. So now you're hiring, you're building an agency. I know you've got staff, right?
Yep, I got 2 full-time. Yep.
2 full-time staff. And then, what are you doing as far as hiring is concerned? Are you running ads? Are you working your warm market, all of the above? Kind of talk to us about what that looks like.
Yeah, so let me just touch on the staff stuff really quick, Jermaine. Because that is one of the scarier bills that you'll take on, and you never are going to feel like you're ready, but it does put a necessary pressure on you to perform in a way, right? And I got that. Zach T told me that. He's like, hey, listen, when I hired my first staff, like, I was not ready financially. And it literally forced him to learn how to sell insurance more effectively and literally service the families that he was already seeing, because now he's responsible for someone else's lifestyle and their bills. Like, he's paying them to help him.
Yeah.
And so it really does force you to put in the extra work and the time to make sure that you can afford your own staff. And it's not like you got to start paying them $5,000 a month right out of the gate, but having a staff will literally force you to work, and it eliminates excuses. Like, I don't feel like it today. Well, I'm sure she doesn't feel like not paying her bills this month either, or she or he. So you have to work. It forces you to kind of plug all the way in and take that next step, which I think is massive. So doubling down on staff, wildly nerve-wracking, for me when I first started. Having my first staff was really scary, because it's like, how am I possibly going to afford all this stuff? And then you break it down, and it's like, okay, well, it's an app a week. I can handle an app a week extra for a staff, that's going to provide so much value to me. So that I would maybe think about it that way, about one application a week to make your life way easier with how much they can do for you. It's big. And then as far as ads go, I was horrible in my warm market. Probably one of my biggest regrets is one of my good buddies from college. I see him now on the leaderboard, Jake Conan. I went to school with him. We went to college together. And he was a captive agent for 2 years. And I finally shared like my 6 months of issue paid or whatever from my first year. I think it was like 242 or something like that. And he calls me immediately. He's like, hey, what are you doing? And what does that mean? Because he's like, I'm in insurance, and that's not what our stuff looks like. Right. And all I would have had to do is share a little bit more of what I was doing. And Jake wrote $71,000 last month. This is his like 4th full month here,
Wow.
So he's brand new to FFL. And I don't know that he's done under 60 since he started. He's been close. So now he's doing 60, 65, 68, 71, and he was sitting in my back pocket, one of my friends, this whole time that I didn't reach out to. So
wow.
Don't be a secret agent. You don't have to cram it down somebody's throat like, oh, you need to be here, you're going to ruin your life. But just like, hey, I love what I do, and I get to help people, and I definitely getting paid. So, if you think it's for you, let me know. So that's a good place to start. And then I pour into ads all over the country. I do some Indeed stuff. We're working on this automation type ad deal. ZipRecruiter, what's the other one? Craigslist we've used a little bit. So I've tried a little bit of everything, and that's all about, it's the same thing as running appointments as far as like the hiring and getting people in. To me, it's selfish not to share with other people because of how much it's changed my life. So I feel like it's rude not to like tell others like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And it has literally changed my entire life. I'm making a year of income in 30 days. You know, it's not something I could really do anywhere else. So I want to share that with everybody, whether it's warm or cold market. So I don't mind pouring money into ads and staff and hiring. And, you know, I'm a train wreck of the hiring side of things too. It's no different than when I first started running. Like, it's a lot to learn in a short span of time. There's so many different personalities.
Yeah.
You know, and so not getting discouraged when you're brand new to hiring was something that was really hard for me, because I was like, I just want them to do it because I know how much it can help them. Right. But you can't force somebody to want something more than they do. Another huge thing that I've learned in hiring.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. That's so true. And I learned that lesson as well. And thankfully, I've got quite a few of my warm market guys that are here, because I just started sharing. I feel the same way. It's almost criminal not to share, especially when you're making that amount of money. If you could replace your annual income in 1 month, then that's criminal not to share that with anybody else. So Zach, Easton, we appreciate it, man. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up with you?
You know, I think you guys asked some outstanding questions. So hopefully, you know, a little something of this can help, you know, kind of take you to where you're trying to get to. I would just say, keep up the volume. Do not hesitate to reach out for help. You can literally call me if you ever need anything. You know, if I miss you, just text me or leave me a voicemail. Let me know it's you. But I've gotten so much help from everybody in the whole company. You know, if there's anything I can ever help you guys with, don't hesitate to give me a shout.
Appreciate it, man. So, hey, guys, if you can unmute, just give Easton a round of applause to show your appreciation for him being on. We really appreciate it. So y'all unmute.
Hey, thank you guys very much for having me on. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. And hey, you know, feel free to hang out. Easton, we're about to give away $100 in leads. You can't get it, but you can definitely watch if you want to. I think you can afford your own lead. All right, guys.
Well, thanks again, Jermaine. You guys take it easy, and please call me if you need anything.
All right, cool, brother.
All right, take it easy.
All right, you guys. All right, cool. So, hey, everybody, I hope you got a lot out of that call right there. I hope you were taking notes. It's always important when you get on these type of calls to take notes. Don't just sit there and expect to retain everything. I took so many notes. I'm probably going to drop some of this in the group. Either tonight or tomorrow morning. Matter of fact, there's a couple things he said that could be my quote of the day over the next coming days. So I'll kind of slowly release all of this, you know, that I've taken notes on. But we're going to have next week another top producer on the call by the name of Ivan Vedrov. He's from Chicago. Top producer. I think his agency did almost $1 million last month. And he's one of the number one producers in FFL overall. And so he'll be on the call next week. So make sure you put that on your calendar. We're going to take about 10 minutes. I know we're running over time, so just bear with me. We got to give away this $100 in leads. And we have 2 other announcements. So let me just share my screen real quick. Let's do this leads deal. Make a couple of announcements first. All right, let's jump to, all right, guys. So we've got our workplace app here. Mr. Lopez, since you're on the screen here, can you see my screen? Okay, good. I see you shaking your head. I got you, brother. So, guys, if you're not plugged into our workplace app, you're missing out. Workplace is our hub for training, empowerment, encouragement, and support for everybody within the agency. There are so many tools here that are available, and I'm going to just run through a couple of them real quick. First of all, I guess we're already broadcasting. Somebody took a picture, snapped a picture, and posted it. That was Desiree. You'll see here, for example, Gio posted, he forgot to get the picture with his client, so he texted her like, hey, send me a picture. So we'll share pictures with our clients and share a little bit of the story. Sometimes it will be video, sometimes it will be text like you see here, and a picture of the client. You know that's a good sale when the client, you know, is texting, thank you, you know. So here's another picture with him and another client that he wrote policy for. That guy looks super cool. He doesn't look like almost like a hippie, right? um, and then we have our weekly, our issue paid numbers. I think this is our month-to-date numbers here for the month of September. And then questions are asked here. When people are booking appointments, Matthew, I see you throwing up your appointments here. So there's a lot of content here. We talked about the training call. So make sure you guys are in this group and that you're checking it all out. I think I posted a video yesterday. So make sure you're in the workplace. If you're not, then email, contact us at fflimpact.com or text me, call me, myself or your manager or Desiree. And we'll be able to get you in the group. One of the main things I want to highlight, and you guys can get in here, scroll through, as we were booking appointments, Desiree gave me a shout out yesterday, it was my birthday. As we were booking appointments today, we were throwing them in the group. And so you could see those appointments. Gio posted a great video with Sean Mike, president of Family First Life, when they did a grand opening for the Miami office. I recommend all of you watch that video. There was so much good content in that video. But there's lots of stuff. We got our top 10 issue paid numbers here for the month of September. So there's a lot of stuff here that you can get into. One of the things I do want to highlight is we are building out our knowledge library. And by the way, this is an app on your cell phone. And so we've created a knowledge library that really is nice and simple. It has 3 parts to it. It has our training station, our lead station, and our field ready station. What's that, Jermaine? It's everything you need to know to be trained on what you need to do to get out there and help families. Everything you need to know about leads, so that way you have families to go out and help. And then everything you need to be field ready, you know, such as what you need to have in your bag and what you need to have when you get in the home and on the phone. We got a link to our CRM training video here for those of you that need to know how to use a CRM. There's a video here on that. So make sure you guys go in and you check out this knowledge library, because it's basically going to be your hub for training and support. What we're trying to create is a one-stop shop for you to be able to get the tools you need, whether it's before the appointment or during the appointment or even after the appointment, getting leads, all of that stuff. So get in here and explore and watch and learn and ask questions as much as you can. All right. And then this is the news feed popping up. I think that's in the hiring group. So we have a hiring group too. So for those of you that are hiring, you can go in this group and we'll be sharing content here, you know, so that way you can learn, you know, what to do. There's underwriting help. There's so much, guys. So just look around, ask questions. But bottom line, make sure you're part of the general group and that you're checking out. And then we want to be the team. And I'll say this and then we'll give away this lead money. We want to be the team that celebrate each other. We want to be an environment for recognition and acknowledgement of achievement for the agents that participate with us and are partnered with us. So please, when you see somebody like Gio posting this, you notice I like that, right? And, you know, throw a comment in there. Our mantra, our motto is run up the score, right? It means, hey, keep going, don't let up. You know, here's another one. Didn't like that one yet, Gio. I don't know how I missed that. My apologies. You know, hashtag run up the score. If I could spell right, run up the score. Okay, there we go. You know, that's our mantra. It's like, hey, man, good job. That's like giving them a pound. Back in the football days when I played in high school, that's a slap on the behind, like, hey, good play. So we can't do that here. But you can say hashtag run up the score. It's the same thing. Those of you that play sports, you know what I mean. Gio, you played soccer. I'm sure you did that a few times, right? But
we hug, brother. We hug.
you hug. Okay, there you go. So instead of hugging, because we got to keep our social distance, just give it a like and give it a hashtag run up the score, and just scroll through and do that for everything on the page. We want to make sure we're participating, we're engaging. And the other thing, guys, I don't know about you, but at my job, when I'm in the car by myself going from house to house, nobody's there cheering me on like, whoa, Jermaine, you almost made that sale. Go get the next one. But we want to be that environment in this group where it's like, all right, take a picture. You didn't make the sale. Good job. You went out there. A for effort. Next time you'll get it. And just create that environment where you can feel encouraged and empowered, because it can be lonely out there when you're an independent contractor. We don't want you to be lonely. We want you to be supported and feel that support. So Now, I'm going to give away $100 in leads, and you're looking at the man in the mirror, so to speak. Mr. Gio Lopez took a picture with this client, and this client took a picture and sent it to him. He also had another picture here with a couple more clients. I don't know where they are. I guess all my birthday posts got in the way. Here's another client he took a picture with. That one's a repeat. I did like that one. I don't know. I said love it, Gio. So, and then we have another client here as well. And I think there might have been even another one. But we want to see that type of engagement with your clients when you're in the field, guys. Share that content, right? When you're with your client, take a picture, whether it's a sale or not. You know, you could say, hey, you know, I'm part of a contest every week. They give away $100 for every client I take a picture with, whatever the case may be. I just want to take a picture with you. The way I do it is, hey, you know, Mr. John, I like to keep a picture of all my clients, you know, because, you know, that way I know who you are when you call me if you have any questions, and I'll snap a selfie with them and I'll save their number in my phone. So Gio, I appreciate you leading out. That was 4 pictures this week. So let's jump into the CRM, and we're going to give away to you $100 in leads. I'm going to back out here so you guys kind of see how I got here. This is the CRM for those of you that don't know. So I'm doing 2 things here. Giving Gio $100 in leads for posting his pictures, and I'm showing you how to order leads for yourself. So when you log into the CRM, you go to leads, you click on purchase, okay? You do cherry pick leads. This is the main lead type that we're using right now. And you hit green for go, and it pulls up the map of the country, okay? And then if you wait a second, then it pops up where the leads are available. Wherever there's green, yellow, or red means there are leads available. Wherever there's not, like middle of South Dakota, means there's not that many leads available, if any. So one thing to know, if you're looking to hire, if you're at that stage in your business where you want to hire, you know, hire where the red areas are, because that means there's a lot of leads. Look at Indiana, Ohio, Chicago, you know, Kentucky, and then on the East Coast, Philadelphia, Jersey, that area. I mean, anywhere where there's red, there's plenty of leads, and you can get leads there. So that's how you utilize the CRM. Now, Gio's located down in South Florida. We're going to click on that region right here. I think he is in the Palm Beach and Broward County area. So let's go to Palm Beach. It's like somebody went in here and grabbed these leads already. We've got 30 instant internet life leads in Palm Beach County. These are brand new life leads that came in instantly today. So I'm going to order all 30 of these. So I'll do, let me hold on, I got to move my screen over. One moment. I'm going to add to cart. Okay. All right, it shows me they're $11 each, okay? And that's 30 times 11 is $330. Now there's 50% off, so let's add this 50% code and see what happens. Whoops, it's all capitals. So this code just came out, capital spooky. I think it should work, let's find out. And you should get 15% off, I might be wrong. Coupon 50% off, coupon applied. So coupon total $339. Is that right?
I think that the instant internet live leads were excluded from that code, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, it was. Okay. All right. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I didn't know it was. Well, that's good that we found that out. Hang tight, Gio. Let's see what we got in Broward Beach or Broward County. Oh, it's the same thing, instant life leads. Gio, what do you prefer, Palm Beach or Broward?
I'll take some Broward.
Broward, okay, all right. So let's do this and then add to cart. And these internet life leads, I'm gonna go back here in a second and show you. My screen is turning, so just hang tight. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get rid of these Palm Beach, whoops. Remove Palm Beach. So if you're in Palm Beach, you've got 30 leads at $11 each. And then, so yeah, 113, let's round that off and we call it that. So I'm going to purchase that. But real quick, before I do, let me just show you the description on these leads. Let me go to Palm Beach and then I'm going to click Internet Life Leads. Fresh instant leads that are updated into the CRM in real time. Clear and to the point. So these are internet leads that they fill out, and as soon as they fill them out, they drop them into the CRM and you can purchase them. So the only thing I don't know how to do is to get back to my cart. So I'm going to just put one of these here and I'm going to put add to cart. So it takes me back to my cart.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. The only way, actually. So that's good training there.
Oh, all right. Perfect, man. Following your script, Gio. I'm following your script.
I appreciate you, Jermaine. I know that you don't have to do this, man, but I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you posting those photos, kind of leading by example. We want to see more of that content, you know, whether you sell it or not, get a picture with your client, post it. We're able to share that on social media and just bring more awareness to what we're doing. So once this updates, then we'll process this order. And I just want to kind of take you guys through the process so you see. I know this code doesn't work, but I'm still going to apply it. I might get lucky. All right. So this code will work on the new Internet Life leads, which is a different category leads. Those are $750. So that's even better. I mean, because now that lead will go from $750 to half of whatever $750 is, and some of them are $4. So all you do here is you just hit place order. It gives you a quick disclaimer, just agree, and then place order. That's my Doug. Anybody know Doug, the cartoon? All right, so thank you for your order. These leads will be available in your CRM shortly. Please note that it may take up to 15 minutes before the leads become available in your CRM. If you don't receive the leads within 15 minutes, please contact an administrator. I've never had an issue with receiving them in that allotted time frame. Then I'm going to go here just to my home screen. And once they arrive, they'll be here in the new category. I'm just going to jump in here so you can kind of see what I have in this category. So I myself have some new Internet Life leads. These are the ones that you get the discount on, opposed to the instant Internet Life leads that I just bought for Gio. But these ones you'll get 50% off. They're $750 each. There's a bunch of them available in a lot of different counties, especially here in Georgia. And so you definitely want to take advantage of those. I booked, I think it was 6 appointments off of these leads this morning. And so definitely, guys, take full advantage of that. Again, you go to purchase leads in the CRM, you go to cherry pick leads, you go to the green button here, just a quick review, and then we'll call it a wrap on this call tonight. Appreciate y'all's patience hanging out here. And then you go to your state. My state is Atlanta. You zoom in, whoop, that's zooming out, and you can see all the counties here with the red. So like I see Kadar on here. I know he's over here in the Cobb County area. So you click Cobb County, Marietta, and then you scroll down and you've got a bunch of these leads, Internet Life leads, 1 month old, new Internet Life leads. And just for fun, let's do this real quick. I just want to see something here. While this is loading, guys, the 15th, which is next Thursday, the management team will be in Florida at the West Palm Beach office. Myself, my wife Tanika, Desiree, Gabe, and Derek are flying in with Gio and Chris to be there to do a training. From 8 a.m. to 2, we'll be dialing and training, and then 6 p.m. we'll have a business development. So make sure that if you have someone in that area, that you jump on that and get them there. If you're in that area, you don't want to miss it, and definitely take full advantage of that. It's going to be a great day of training. We're also going to be doing some pictures that we're going to be putting up on our website. So definitely make sure you attend that event. Coupon applied, 50% off. Still something's off, Gio. Oh, actually, no, it did cut the price, right? I think so.
Yeah, I think so, because I think that they're like $750. something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
think they're 750. So you could use that code SPOOKY to be able to get a discount on the leads, SPOOKY. So I think that's about it, guys. Any questions, any comments, anything like that that you guys might need, or Desiree, anything that I might be missing from what we talked about for the agenda of this call? Okay. All right. So, hey guys, make sure you're jumping into Workplace. Make sure you're engaging. Make sure you're sharing. Our goal this month, we finished up the month at 253,000. Our goal this month is 350,000. My apologies that this call ran over by a few minutes, but I hope you got a lot of value. Our goal here is to empower, equip, and encourage you to be as successful as you want to be and help you make a six-figure income. So hopefully that mission was accomplished tonight. We appreciate you. And if you need help, reach out to us. My daughter, Michaela, would like to say hi. Say hi. Hi. So they're right here watching me. It's like Sports Center. I got a whole crew back here. Like everybody, it's a family affair, man. I love being able to do business with my family. So there's Mia. All right, bedtime. Get to bed. All right, guys, have a good night. And if you need us, reach out.